Okay, welcome all to the foundational infrastructure working group. Let's dive right in. We have agenda items. I think the first order of business is the no compression discussion. Marin is here as well. Yeah, so I think as it stands, I think the goal of this meeting or of this agenda item is to get alignment on how to move forward with these PRs. There's 3 or 4 PRs. I think one got reverted, but that should just be reopened to Bosch Utils. And then we have the other ones. The aim of this feature, as I understand it, is that or the use case is that as a release author, sometimes you have packages that only contain objects that are already compressed or don't compress well, right? So you basically want to save on CPU time during deployment, mostly deployment. I mean, release creation maybe a bit, but mostly deployment time by skipping compression on the tarballs. There was a bit of back and forth, and the question was like, when is this feature done and when can we merge it, right? Like, what's the scope that we feel like is an acceptable scope so that it is something that benefits the broader community, I would say.
If you let me jump in
Yes.
here real quick. Sorry. So actually there are a couple of benefits to this no compression thingy. One thing, as you mentioned, is to be able to control on a per package basis whether your package should be compressed or not. But also there is one additional layer of compression, and it's about the outer tarball that contains all the individual tars, both jobs and packages. So I would say that like in 99% of the use cases, you don't want this external outer layer to be compressed because you don't gain any advantage of compressing already compressed tars. So even if you don't have your individual tars using the no compression, you might still want to disable compression for the outer layer.
But that almost sounds like an optimization that we can just as a Bosch team decide, like, or as a that disable it
Here
for
is the
everybody.
caveat. We cannot do this by default, this optimization, because it's backward incompatible. Because if you produce a release
Yeah, that's true.
that is not compressed, the outer layer, then it means you need to deploy it on a new stem cell and new director. This is why I'm adding the flag to make it configurable with still compressing by default to preserve backward compatibility. Otherwise, I would have just made it no compressed by default, but
yeah, but like that is and I think that's also a topic that we need to discuss, is basically what would like the adoption for this new feature look like for the community, right? Because when we say like we as a community feel that compression on the outer thing has no outer tar has no value, then we can just say within like a few for the community, we don't have to maintain a lot of backward compatibility, right? Like if we just have a few breaking releases and we do the proper bumps, then we can go jump to this new pattern. That basically we only have to coordinate with CF deployment, and that should be fine, right? So that can be in a few steps. We can actually get to that. I mean, there's maybe downstream consumers that need to provide other compatibility timelines, but that for the community, we don't have that constraint so much.
I would have to disagree on that one. Do we really want to be breaking open source users? Like, it's no problem for, for us, for example, we can fork, no problem. But do we really want to break open source users that might be using older directors with
I mean, it's a
number of
timeline
videos?
thing, right? Like it's the same we do
Right.
with V2. So we need to decide on a timeline. in which we want to roll this feature out, right? So we cannot do it all at the same time. But like if we say, oh, maybe two months is enough, or maybe we say half a year is enough, right? Like then when we can just make that change.
So at least in other projects that I have been involved with, the way to introduce such backward incompatible changes is to do it via flag. And then at some point we can switch the default value from no compression being the like compressing being the default option, and then at some point we switch. But still it would be nice to have it configurable. Otherwise, we are forcing people to like it's not very flexible. So
yeah, you can do it with a like we can make these changes to the director and the stem cell now, right? Because that's non-breaking, and then we could decide on making it opt-in, or we can decide to just roll it out in like a few months' time, right, on the CLI and make it a default, right? Like that is to be discussed, but I think that's like it's an adjacent topic, right? I think that can be done independently of the package compression topic, right? I mean, maybe the package compression, as I understood it, as I see that feature, I think it would be like on the spec, right? In the spec file of a package, you disable compression, and then for the outer layer or outer tar, it makes sense to me that the compression would inherit from that. Like, I don't see a use case for wanting to have outer compression while you have packages that have disabled compression, right?
yeah, true, but you have the other use case where all of your packages are still benefiting from the compression, but you still want your outer package to be non-compressed
Yeah.
because
But that I think is a different use case, right? Like that's a use case where like we can decide as a community, okay, we feel like this is a useless thing. Maybe in a 2-month period, we want to disable this for everybody, but we need to get some things rolled out in the stem cell and the director first, right? And then at some point we can flip the switch and say nobody gets compression on the outer layer. But then but that can be done independently, and we can do the other work, the preparation work, to support all non-compressed releases for the stem cell, the agent, and the director. We can do that work first, right? And that already needs to happen for the package compression work, right? And then the broader benefit is can be done later.
why would we want to split it? I mean, it's already like implemented in one PR. What's the benefit of splitting this work into phases?
What I'm talking about is the switch, the default thing, right? Like, and if you do the switch to default or you don't do it through a flag, that doesn't really matter. Like, that's an implementation detail. Like, but you cannot release it all at the same time. The change of the default.
So I think we're combining two conversations here. I think there's a conversation as if we want to change the default for created releases to use no compression, we could do that in future to not break anybody immediately, right? So maybe half a year time, whatnot. So I think we should probably put that aside. I think I don't think anybody is disagreeing with it. Then there's a question of, can we have an opt-in into that behavior right now so we can start benefiting from that behavior immediately? Now, I guess the question is there objection to that?
No objection. I would say just UX questions, right? Like, how do we want to do that UX? And like my preference is to do that through the spec file, right? And just and focus on the package compression part and just inherit that for the outer tar, right? So if you're using non-compressed packages, then also not compress the outer layer.
That does not seem a lot more complex than just having something in a final YAML?
Yeah, final YAML is also fine. I just don't like flags. I don't like flags. So my preference is mostly, I don't want flags that you pass to Bosch create release, right? I want this to be in files that get checked into the Git. So spec file and final.yaml, because otherwise, like if you're changing this, you have to go change your pipelines in CI instead of just changing the release files themselves.
So you,
I'm plus one to that.
basically you mean that should be decision of the release author how this thing should be.
Yeah, in theory, the release author is also maintaining probably their pipeline, but still, I like the CLI to just because like we have other places like for example Bosch.io, right? Bosch.io actually does a Bosch create release, so it should also respect these settings.
Would also make the migration easier for future if we are going to remove the flag or make it default or whatever.
Yeah, we don't want flags.
No,
But
I
is it not
don't
like-
mean flag, but I mean the default.
So my concern with that approach is that, so first, if we place that configuration in the final YAML, this means that this would only be valid for final Bosch releases.
Nope.
Why not?
Final YAML is not just for final releases. Like name, for example, is used from there as well for dev releases.
Okay.
It's actually unfortunate that it's called final YAML. Probably should be called something else.
Yeah, there were previous people that made wrong decisions. No.
So you're saying instead of reading it from an argument, we can read it from the final YAML, and as an author, I can specify there whether the releases should be compiled or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Works for
First,
me.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Okay, works for me. I agree with this design. And the other, my like other concern was that if we flip the default, people would not have any way to opt out of that feature. Maybe there is a reason why they did not update their director.
They actually can, right? Because if we put it in the final YAML,
Yeah,
right,
if we
they
put
could
it in
opt out.
if we put it in the final, they can opt out. Yeah,
But
they still would need to change something in there, like
Yeah, but
configuration.
that's why we need a timeline, right? Like, so
Okay.
that's but that I think the timeline thing needs an RFC.
But I think
Right.
it's important to keep compatibility with existing releases when we have the new feature in, so that it still work.
Okay, and do you agree that we should still preserve the no compression flag that surface in the release MF because it's like it's usable to be there?
Yeah, but the releases MF is an internal file, right? Like that's that's basically just generated by Bosch create release.
Yeah.
And if we need it, yeah, but like if we can do without it, it's better, right? Like keep copying data in different places. That I don't know. That's
I mean, we can, but it makes the code much more like neat and easier to read because otherwise we need to pass this information through method arguments. It's ugly.
okay, but I think that's like really like an implementation detail, and that would be like code review stuff, right? Like that's better to discuss in the context of the code. But yeah, like that's something we need to look into. I know it's currently put in there, but someone who's reviewing that should see if there's other ways or maybe if it's acceptable. I don't mind either way.
By the way, for my own entertainment, release MF, right, never makes it into agent, except that specialized compile thing that was added to the Bosch agent. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Right, because
Should be
I
the
think
case,
there's a little bit of a kind of a API purity line here, right? Is that agents don't know anything about releases. They just know about individual packages or jobs, right? And so from a director to agent point of view, right? It shouldn't that communication should never really care about how the release was compressed, uncompressed, whatever it is, right? So it's really at the atom layer. And we do have that special compile thing that I guess was added to the Bosch agent that leaks in the knowledge of releases because it's producing releases, but it's almost like a separate, even though it's in the same code base, it's almost like a separate project of its own.
Yeah. Yeah, that like it's not like I think in the beginning it didn't even produce the same artifacts, right? Like the releases it produced were different from what the director produced. So there were some iterations to get those things to align. So yeah, it's different code paths altogether.
There is one caveat here that the Bosch director through the export release command actually uses the release manifest and creates like compiles the packages with the agent and then creates a new release. So the question here should be, shall we plug into this workflow as well? Because theoretically, if you like create a non-compressed release with a non-compressed outer layer, upload it, and then at some point decide to export it, uh, theoretically, it's best to receive again a non-compressed star.
Yeah.
But this means that we need to change the like the database in the director to add this new column. Maybe I'm not sure how the release MF is stored in the director, if it's each individual property has its own column, but like I think this needs to surface in the director more like integrated.
What's the other flow that we use for compiling releases? The Bosch agent compile, right?
Bosch agent compile is one, which is basically we publish the stem cells as Docker images, and you use that Docker image, you have the stem cell of the stem cell Docker image, which has a Bosch agent. So you use the Bosch agent binary to call a compile command given
But
a source release.
does
The most straight scenario is like you create a release, upload it, and when you deploy the Bosch manifest, it directly spins up the compilation VM, compiles the packages, and then deploys it on the Bosch VM. So this continues to work. The only problem right now that I haven't addressed is that if you wish to export your release back from Bosch to your own machine,
Right, but
your
there's two paths, right? There is the export release director path, and then there is the Bosch agent compile path, right? And so for
Yes.
either of those two paths, how do they decide whether the outer compiled release should be compressed or not compressed? Was it ever compressed?
That was
So at the moment, with the current code base, the outer layer is always compressed. Yes.
Even
With
for
the
compiled releases.
Yeah. And for the Bosch agent compile path, this special alternative path that you mentioned earlier, I have in my PR from there because the agent receives the whole
The
non-compiled
original, the
tar. I read
non-compiled.
the manifest, read the non-compressed property. If it's there, after compilation, again, the agent will produce a non-compiled outer layer. So this is already addressed. The only thing that I haven't addressed at the moment is the export released path. And I'm wondering, like,
yeah.
should we?
Yeah, so like the problem basically is if we put it in the final.yaml, right? The final.yaml doesn't end up in the release itself, right? So you need to copy that property into the
Yeah.
release MF because you need to store it somewhere, right? Then the release MF itself is actually not stored if you do an upload release, I would say, right? Like the release is probably
No, I think it is stored.
Is it stored
I think so.
in the blob store or is it put in
No,
the
in the database.
in a raw form or just certain fields?
I think it's in the raw form, but I mean, Marin, have you seen that release MF is getting stored or no?
No, at least in the code, like where I was, like in the place where we decide whether to compress or non-compress the outer. I guess at the moment it's always been compressed, but I looked at the code and tried to see if I can make it configurable. There, the release MF is generated, so it's not read from a database or anything. It's just Like the packages are getting compiled,
That makes sense, right?
and
Because
then the
it has
release
all
is
these SHA
release
sums.
MF is generated on the fly, and the SHA is populated. So we
It has
don't have that
fingerprints of all the
information.
it has fingerprints of all the tarballs, right, in there.
Yeah.
So it must be generated. But the question is, like, if you do a Bosch upload release to the director, if it stores because then it untars the outer release tarball. There's a release MF in there. What does the Bosch director do with that release MF? Does it parse it to create release objects, or does it actually store because if it doesn't store it, then we need to have that property on the outer compression. We need to persist that somehow. Otherwise, you cannot create when you do an export release, you cannot retain that flag.
Yeah, and this is exactly why it's making it a little bit more complex than I anticipated. So I don't know if this flow is used by the
I mean, it
community or
is
not.
basically
Like,
it is the flow that everybody should be used until that agent compile thing came along, which was an optimization. And I don't know how the adoption has been of that. Like, I think we're using it for. Are we using it for Bosch deployment already? I think we switched a while back. So the Bosch deployment uses. So the idea of compiled releases is that you skip the compilation step, right? So that's why it's useful. So Bosch deployment has compiled releases that are published. And I don't know, is CF deployment also doing that? Stefan, do you know?
Sorry, what?
As far as I know,
Is
yes.
Bosch deployment using compiled releases? Or CF deployment, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
last that I looked, at least.
But are you all using Bosch agent compile okay, you don't
I
know.
have no clue. No clue.
I mean, these people are closer to you than they are to me, so that's why I see the same banner.
I don't think they use that new agent compile Docker thingy.
Yeah, so that would be for CF deployment then, right? They probably need the but that would be something to ask.
It would speed up their pipeline, but
Sure, but I mean,
significantly.
we're not gonna basically do away, like we're not gonna remove the export release functionality, right? Like that's definitely a supported pod. It's
no,
basically
I'm not asking whether we should remove it. I like more question is more oriented towards shall we include this opt-in of compression or no compression in the export release command? Like, can we submit these PRs without fixing the export release command to return to you non-compressed release if the original release was non-compressed? Or we can live without it? That's my question.
yeah, good question.
And according to Cursor, release MF is not stored in the database. But yeah, that was my question to Cursor just now.
Like I would say as an end user, it would be an unexpected behavior, right? Like that both compression. So we have two export release pods or two ways of getting an compiled release, and then the behavior is different in a subtle way that like you should at least get a warning or something about it, right? Like if we decide to not upload it.
But as a user, you should, like, you normally don't care what you get. It's just a turbo and you untar it, like whether it's the outer layer is compressed or not.
A user is a release author in this case, right? Like a release author is the one who mainly deals with compressed release or compiled releases, because compiled releases are the thing you publish, or if you either publish your release or you publish a normal source release or you publish a compressed release, right? So it's not the end user consuming the releases; it's the release author. Who deals with these things, and this is an unexpected results, right? Because they would set the flag, and then depending on which path they take to create a compressed release, they get a different result. That's hard for them to verify. I mean, they can, but they need to go dig in, right? And they need to have basically the context that we have in this call 2 years from now.
But both compressed and non-compressed releases are working equally well, and you as a user shouldn't care that much. It's just a matter of a little bit of performance. Like
Yeah, but
one
you,
is extracting a little bit faster than the other, so it's
yeah, but you, as a release author, you set that flag, right? So you set that flag, and you then expect the release to be non-compressed, and then it also so at least at the minimum needs to, like, if we decide to not support it in a certain path, we need to have that in the documentation for this particular feature, right? Like that it only works in a certain place. It needs to be documented somewhere.
Yeah, I will have to leave, but yeah, nice discussion. Regarding the Bosch utils, I think we should do that backwards compatible to minimize the efforts for bumping.
Yeah, that was what Aaron brought up, right?
So still open question, was one open.
So my suggestion here was like, because it's like adding additional, because we have two compress methods. One is compress files in directory, and the other is just compress files or something like that. So both are being used, and I don't like very much to add two new methods and deprecate the old ones. Would it be okay to like reopen the PR, like submit the Bosch utils PR, and then open another set of PRs for all the consumer repositories? So I made a list. There are like 5 or 6 repositories that are using it, and it's just an easy change, just adding a new parameter to the methods and submit them like that. Would that be acceptable to you?
It makes the overhead of merging that stuff harder,
Yeah.
right? Like it's basically the coordinate. We have this.
I
this
have to
week-
go. I have to go.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, Dmitry. I should put a point about Bosch history, knowing that you will join.
It
But,
was nice seeing it was
yeah.
nice seeing you all on the call.
Yeah, enjoy and see you again, maybe. Yeah, bye-bye.
See you later, Ben.
Yeah. To finish what I was saying there, finish. So yeah, we basically have a weekly call where most of the stuff gets merged, and then like just the coordination effort of merging all these things at the same time is quite hard. Also, sometimes things break or things need to be released. Like it's really hard to coordinate across so many repos. Like even since it's all internal it's all public consumers, right? But what we could do is just do it in 2 PRs, right? Like have one PR to introduce the new methods, switch everything over, and then remove the methods, right? Like that could be done. That's easier to coordinate than doing it all in one go, right? Aligning all these repos and have that all work out, that's pretty hard. And then what you can end up with is situations where it's actually you're blocking on one repo, right? Because CI is not going or something, right? And then you need to revert, and it's not great.
So let me make sure that I understand what you mean. So what you propose is that currently we have 2 compressed methods. I should deprecate them, then add 2 new methods, merge the Bosch utils PR, then open PRs for all consumers, migrate them to the new methods, and at some point delete the
old methods. Yeah. That should be that's much easier to coordinate, right? Because you don't have this window where you have like it doesn't work, right? Until you have all these things merged.
The problem is with the method names, because right now they have nice names. Now I have to come up with another set of nice names because Go does not support overloads.
Yeah.
Is the main concern that you cannot bump, let's say, I don't know, whatever, library X during the time when the interface has changed, or is the concern something else?
Yeah, so we have like for all these repos, we have auto bumping set up. So they all auto bump Bosch utils. And then if the method signatures are, we already merged that PR before, and then we couldn't, like, because we didn't merge the other things, then we couldn't.
I see.
Yeah, so I don't
Release
know
the
how
method.
things happen here, but like it's one line, just adding a new argument. It's like,
Yeah.
why should
I
this
think,
stop anybody from merging an
I
output?
think I know the better solution, maybe. If you can just make PRs to the consumers to just change the method signature, right? Because in the previous PRs, we had the method signature change combined with the change that we're currently discussing, right? And that's why they were blocked, right? So if we can just only change the method signatures.
But there are other consumers as well that I didn't know of. So
No, I know, but then we can just have the simple change, like that's basically no discussion, just merge that thing, so it's all compatible again, and then we can have the other PRs to actually change all the compression.
Okay, I agree.
Actually
I
start
will do
using
that.
it.
I will do that. Okay, I completely agree with that approach. I will do that. Probably even today.
Yeah,
But
that's much
let's
simpler.
jump back to the export release discussion. I mean, at least I'm not sure if we have a decision, and I'm not sure what are the action items for this set of PRs at the moment. So. In my opinion, the director PR is ready for merging because it's just removing the -z flag from everywhere. It's harmless and it should have been merged a long time ago. I don't know why it's still standing. About the CLI changes, I agree that final YAML is a good candidate to instead of the no compression argument. I will adopt this change. And then I guess the only concern at the moment is about the export release and what to do with this. So we need to reach an agreement on that topic, and then we need to discuss about the documentation. Like there was some questions about how are we going to document this, and also I'm not completely sure because like my initial idea was to document the no compression flag and state that it's supported from, let's say, director version XYZ or stem cell version XYZ. But all the stem cells have different versions for Jami, Noble, and like the other OS. So it would be a little bit tricky to document this as a flag. So maybe if it's in the final YAML, I don't know how you document flags in the final YAML.
I mean, we just need to, in the documentation, what we usually have is a docs PR that's open for a while, and then we just like, while these things all get released, then eventually we know all the versions, then we update the docs PR and then we merge it. Like the docs PR gets merged as last, but we want it there. Like it's simple documentation, right? And we could also document there that it's, for example, not supported for the export release as a starting point, right? And if that changes, then we could.
Okay, and so if we like, is it acceptable to merge then the three PRs, the COI director and agent, without the flag, because we agreed that we don't need a flag, to merge them as is, like I don't know, today, this week, next week, whenever I fix this, and then at some point to update the documentation when we
ideally
have a release version.
Ideally you start with the docs PR already. You open that and then we just update that when we have the docs PR stays open until the things are released, and then we, as a last step in the docs PR, we update the versions there and then merge it.
What is a docs PR? Is there a docs?
There's Bosch.io has a repo where the docs are. So if you are on Bosch.io, you can click an edit page and that opens the PR against the repo. Or like, I mean, you go to an edit page thing or edit file. That's the easiest way to find it. But I think it's just, where is it? Is it Bosch Docs? I think.
It's Bosch Bosch Docs and
I think this is, no, wait, what's it?
Bosch.io Docs, maybe, I don't know. No, it's Bosch Docs. I know for sure.
This is what I always do.
Should be just Bosch Docs.
Yeah. Just press the writing thingy, the pencil.
Yeah, that one. Here, you click there. There. Oh, it's Docs Bosch. Everything is Bosch dash except this one. Consistency, great. Yeah, So something here. I think there's like creating release docs. I think there it probably could go, because there the spec file is probably discussed. Okay, can we finish this topic because there's
We did not reach to an agreement about the export release.
Yeah, I think the export release just needs, at the minimum, needs to be documented as an exception.
Okay.
That's not supported, right? Like that's the minimum. So open the docs PR, then we can have it there. And
Okay.
then, yeah, I still think that it's good if it would be supported in both places. But I mean, yeah, I think it's most important to have a consistent UX, that we agree on the UX, and then if the behavior is not symmetric across the two paths, that's, I guess, acceptable. Yeah.
Okay.
He's still not happy.
I mean, no, but I mean, like that's the thing of open source, right? Like I cannot force people to do stuff, right? Like that's a prioritization thing.
There is I don't know how much, if there's some other pressing issues to discuss there, but the unrelated to this topic, but it is an interesting question. And we've had this challenge before that even if you introduce the change to, and I've checked, the release MF is not in a database, unfortunately. I do remember wanting it to be in a database, but hasn't happened. Because we don't store it, right? There's a challenge here that even if we introduce it today, you end up with because the database travels over time versus the director gets updated, you might import a bunch of releases that say no compression into the older director and then upgrade your director. And so your releases that say, I want no compression, because the old director never recorded that, will continue to say, oh, I'm okay with compression, right? And so the reason why I wanted the release MF to be saved in a DB a long time ago is so that we're effectively future-proofing for the unknown configurations for the future, right? So this is maybe a separate, unrelated to this whole PR stream. This is a separate question that perhaps would be good to answer, even if it's not implemented immediately, is do we want to start saving release MF into a database for future-proofing whatever other configurations that might come around in future?
Yeah, good point. It's but that's like a prioritization question, and that's hard in this forum, right? Like that's mostly dependent on what people want to prioritize on their end.
I think more from a technical point of view, if there's an
technical point of
that,
view, like no brainer, like makes sense, right? Like definitely makes sense to do.
How difficult is it going to be? That's the.
I mean, just storing some raw file is totally fine. Yeah.
So anyway, perhaps when there is actually a real change that is happening in that area somewhere, though this doesn't happen frequently, then that could be
This would have been a good opportunity, but it sounds like people are not really wanting to do it.
It probably, like,
I mean,
it would be
like,
great
in
if
the
we
end,
can. It would be
Dmitry,
great if we can
you are
close
the
out some of the stuff, but
Dmitry, you are the person who can prioritize actually doing this stuff, right? If you find this more important, then you can allocate or try to advocate for making this change. Like, I cannot do that.
well, it's kind of interesting. I guess I was thinking yesterday about this is, I probably to blame here for introducing export release at the time, but obviously the winds have shifted, right? Where a lot more people use the Bosch agent compile because it's more friendly to the CI, which probably would have been like that. That's probably the original mistake. It was maybe we should have investigated that at the time, doing that instead, right? So the question is, at what point is Bosch export release a thing that does not make sense anymore to continue to even have, right? And just really switch the investment of whatever kind into the the Docker Bosch agent compile thing, right? So I don't know. This is just something that I was noodling on yesterday. In my head is like, where is that balance point where export release is no longer useful to anybody because everybody else is already doing the Docker builds inside their CI?
Another great topic.
But anyway,
but
yeah,
like we already spent quite.
We could place a message with everyone who just executed.
I just want to
release.
also give Stephan some time. I don't know, Stephan, you are here to discuss CI setup for the storage CLI, I'm assuming?
Exactly, yeah. So last time we talked about how we go forward with the storage CLI. We have meanwhile the repository there, and there's a first PR that simply copies the 5 old storage Bosch storage keys more or less one by one into the new repo, slightly refactoring with the package structure, things like that. It includes GitHub actions for a very simple Go build plus unit tests. That's no magic. But now the next bigger point would be to start introducing GitHub actions for integration tests. Stata is currently working on that, and be using some resources in SAP internal accounts. But in order to get it right, we would need access to the IaaS accounts that you are currently using. And the question is how to do that. So either you grant us root access to everything, or somehow we can contact somebody who then configures the necessary credentials into the repository and into the workflows so that we get things started. So then we would come up with a PR that is still using our infrastructure, and we would then say, please do X, Y, Z and configure that, and then we see that it's hopefully.
Yeah, so, and for which infrastructure is that?
For everything. So it's we started with AWS, so S3, then GCP, Azure, and Ali Cloud, I think is.
Yeah, but you basically just need a bucket in all of those.
We just need a bucket, right? We don't need bubble environments or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it feels like a bit much, like overhead-wise, to create separate accounts for all of that. Like, so we have 2 options, right? So we can go to Chris Clark, and he can set up accounts, or like actual accounts on all these IaaSes.
I think we already have like the Azure one. So
yeah, so that's the other question. Like we already have them for the foundation infrastructure working group, but I think they are mainly used for Bosch. So you could say it's a different area. We can just put that all in the same account. But adding or onboarding a bunch of people, and we can also just onboard some individuals to that group. Like we don't have automation around the setting up of the accounts, right? So it's not tied to the roles. So not everybody with the roles has the same.
Same for us,
Why do they really need access to the UI anyways? Just give them a service account for the UI, for the CI, and then.
Yeah, they basically just need a bucket, pre-created bucket. Or are you also no? The create bucket is not even a command that the CLI does, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not too deep into it. Maybe Serdar, do you know if we create buckets? But usually, at least from Kapi point of view, the buckets are pre-created, and then it's just file operations within the bucket. So, but I don't know about the Bosch part.
Yeah, I can create a service account for GCP and just do for the initial testing, and then I will just assign it with all the bucket bucket admin,
I think
or
that's the easiest.
whatever it's now called. And I will just put it in CredUp because you're probably using our pipeline anyways, right?
No. They are putting it in GitHub Actions.
Yeah.
Oh, they're moving a bit GitHub Actions. Oh, then I will just provide you I will just send it to you. No problem. Just contact me tomorrow and we will fix it.
Okay, and for AWS the same, right? You could also provide us.
AWS is also, same.
And for the rest, we would need to find out what actually is used today for Ali Cloud. I don't know if you have an Ali Cloud.
We don't have Ali Cloud.
We have Azure, AWS, and
GCP. So let's start with these 3 and with Ali Cloud. I can ask around how it is tested today.
I don't have access to Azure yet. It's only Aram that has the.
Aram?
Aram has the Yeah, I will. Yeah, you can contact him as well.
I mean, in worst case, we would also have an Azure account for Ari, but then we start to mix up. I mean, the repository is stored, and that's not good, I would say.
No, it should be in the
let's
foundational
clean it up
infrastructure working group at
exactly,
least.
yeah.
So it's the question in my mind is like, do we do it per area or do we do it per working group? And I think working group is the right abstraction, because at least we have a call in which we coordinate these things. So I think that's good enough.
Yeah. Okay, then Ramon, I will contact you tomorrow and then we set it up. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I've assigned reviewers to this, and
yeah, it's not that too much to review. I mean, it's a journey.
Yeah, I know.
Copy it over, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Was that
cool?
It?
There's one PR that would give Serdar, who works on this topic, reviewer rights on this area. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have a look. It's
no, that's not it. That's not the PR.
Oh, okay. It's in the check.
And Ivo Radkov at the boat one, you mean?
Yeah, just the one. Like
this one?
No.
Must be in the fourth, the list, the fourth one.
It's
that one, I guess. Yeah,
1358. Yeah, exactly. That one.
Okay.
Cool.
That one just needs an approval, right? And then we can just go. Wait, what's the change? Oh, there's the change. The change is behind this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was that all storage related questions?
Yeah, for this week. I guess we show up next week again.
Okay.
Depends on how we.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool.
Okay, then we can actually start reviewing the PRs. Oh wait, I know, just closed it, but that was
21.
Then I have to leave as well.
Okay, yeah.
Another meeting.
No
Bye.
problem. Bye.
Me neither. Bye.
Bye.
Hey Ruben, I just opened the Bosch Utils PR. If you can merge it, and I will continue with the introducing PRs for all the consumers.
Yeah, but I'd rather do that all at the same time, right? Because otherwise we have the same situation where the consumer we need to have all those PRs merged at the same time, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I need to update the Go mode file, so it wouldn't be at the same time.
Good point.
So I need to have this merged so that I can update the dependency everywhere and open PRs. I can promise I can do this by the end of the day if you merge this today. So
okay,
but like
then,
it wouldn't be immediate. I don't see how
no,
you can.
that makes sense. But I think the sync is not working. Because I'm getting spammed about that. This one, right? But CI is now.
This stupid master branch protection rule, I always forget to open the towards develop. So when I change it, this workflow doesn't retrigger automatically.
Yeah,
and
you need to approve, and then it will do the trigger again. So if once someone approves it, it will run this check again, and it will be fixed.
Yeah, this
it's just a reapply. I just re-reverted your change, so it's
re-reverted.
Yeah, it's great. See if that does it.
It should check it again. I had this yesterday.
It doesn't matter. I can still merge it.
All right, thanks.
And
so
it's tied to a VMware email address. So if someone complains, they cannot reach me. That's great.
No, it's okay. So I will open the PRs for the consumers after hour or so.
Yeah, and then ping me with the on Slack or something, then I can get those in as well.
Okay.
Okay. back to the actual meeting. We have 7 minutes to finish all of this.
You can
The
do it.
docs, the prefix, that one is still waiting on something.
I just added the versions for so now we have everything, I guess. So we have a CPI release, we have a stem cell release, and we have a director release. So I just added in the last commit now the versions. So I think that should be ready now to merge.
Okay, that's great. Let me check the last commit. That's the here, this one, right?
Exactly. I just did it now.
Yeah, here we have that one. Director, Jammy. Yeah. And Marin, this is also like, this is typically how we do these things, right? So this PR has been open for a while, and then eventually, right, like all the versions are known, and then we update it, and then we merge it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this is a good example of, and we already have the approval, so this one can be merged. Great. Okay. Interesting. Aaron already looked at this. The change. This is just adding the response body to the. That makes it easier to debug. Any objections to getting this in?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it's a bit weird actually. So I mean it references here Noble, but I don't know why it's if you look at the change, it's it has been there for a while. It is just a missing error check. I don't know how this never caused issues before. For me, that looks very strange. So was the Matrix server wrapper always nil, so it never came inside? But for some reasons,
Dmitriy is here now, right? He just can explain why this.
yeah, good point. Yeah, but basically it's just a check here to add if error is not nil to raise the error and not just always raise it.
This looks like a cosmetic problem though, right? Because it's in the Go routine, which will, even if it panics, it just silently is ignored, right?
It might have been ignored on Jamie, and now it's not ignored on Noble. I'm not sure. So I think the colleagues only found
this
that on
wouldn't be
Noble.
this wouldn't be Noble related, I would imagine.
No, I don't think so. But we only found it when the colleagues were testing on Noble.
As in just you notice the log line showing up or what?
Yeah, it feels. Before we never noticed.
I cannot imagine how this would only be Noble specific.
But this is just logging every time, right? Like, so even if successful, this would still log, right?
Exactly.
And now it doesn't, but it's just cosmetic. Because this is not the root cause of your problem. Like, this is just producing a log line that shouldn't be there. Like, you basically could not start metric server without an error. Like an empty string.
the only way that Noble would have triggered this, because let's assume for a second that there's nothing special about Noble here, right? You would be hitting this all the time after the run has finished, and it would be a cosmetic problem because it's just a panic in a go routine that's about to die anyway, right? But the way that Noble could have triggered that, and I don't know what this metric server even is, but if there is already a conflicting, let's say, port, I'm assuming it's a server, metric server, right? Then you would get an error from the run would fail immediately, and then you hit this error, and so it's more noticeable.
Yeah, but I don't think this is, what's the actual issue? Oh, it's a nil pointer.
Just a nil pointer.
Yeah, but that's just cosmetic.
Yeah.
Or perhaps maybe the underlying issue really is maybe the metric service is not available, but I don't know if it was checked here.
Yeah. I mean, it was not from our team, so I don't know exactly what the other team was doing. But
I mean, like
that's
I
also
don't think
told
it's
them,
gonna.
basically.
I don't think it's gonna fix this. I mean, it's gonna fix the panic, but probably not their underlying problem.
Yeah.
But I
But
mean,
I think
it
it
couldn't
should
hurt.
fix it. Might as well fix the panic though.
Yeah, right. Like that, it's not a problem to merge this, right? Like this is
Yeah.
it's a good improvement.
I was just wondering why it was never triggered before, but yeah, anyhow.
There's a change requested.
I mean, I noticed after I approved it that the unit tests are not enhanced, but I guess it doesn't matter for this change.
To have a unit test to test this error in a Go. No,
I did not check. I just randomly opened the PR, and so there's no test. But I guess it's also fine to merge without one.
What's this one? Yeah, that's the right one. Yeah, I think I'm fine with merging this. Like it's one of their first PRs, right?
Not her first, no.
No, but like, no, but in this area, is it or not?
I have not seen that user before, so probably.
Yeah. I'm.
She's in my team, so
Okay.
I mean, probably she added or contributed to others, but yeah. But
Well, it's not going to solve her problem.
Okay,
but
if she's in your team and you think she needs to make a test, I guess, then we leave it open.
Yeah, I will merge
Okay.
it later once she does.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we are basically out of time, and there's still a lot of things that still need to be moved forward. But let's end it here. I will at least assign for all the things in the inbox. I will just assign people for reviews.
I have one pressing matter still.
Which is?
Which is yeah, it's not in here. It's for the boss agent. The boss agent part X.
Oh yeah,
branch,
that one.
Which fixes Noble on AWS, but the problem is I messed so many times with it that I don't know which thing fixed the right thing. So someone needs to go over it a little bit to what we can remove.
But wouldn't it be better to? Wouldn't it be better for you to do that if you have already most context?
No, someone else needs to look over it, man. That's what we.
But like it's simple, right? You just try reapplying the changes one by one again.
Okay.
This is just a lot of work, but like just asking other people to go do it. Like I don't think other people have the. It's gonna be hard for them to. I
just thought maybe they could just glance over it and just like see, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense.
No, you need to. It's mostly a testing problem, right? You need to test it like.
No, it's a problem that nobody wants to do shit, and I am all over the place. That's my problem.
I know, but yeah, I'm basically a pensioner, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't think there's an easy fix here. Yeah, shall we end it here? Thanks all for joining. And then I will just, for all the things in the inbox, assign reviewers, and we'll see how far we get next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Good evening. See you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.